Okay.
You should
Oh,
see
there we
that's
go.
recording now. Awesome.
Yeah.
We're live. Cool. Hey guys, so welcome to the relaunch of Off the Beaten Path podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Stevens. And again, we have Hannah Rooth. She helped us launch the podcast and she's here again for the relaunch.
Yeah, I'm so
Hannah?
happy to be back. Thanks for having me back, Bobby.
Yeah. Yeah, this is fun. I gave you more than like 2 days notice this time. So yeah, so
It's all a
I just
learning
want,
process.
it is. That's all it is. You just gotta trust the process and just kind of lean into it, just accept what comes. But yeah, thanks for coming back. I appreciate it. I'm honored to have you on again. Just kind of catch up with you, see how things have been with you musically and just in life from last time, and we'll just dive right in and get on started. So I haven't been on social media much here recently, but just kind of dive in, doing some research from just seeing what you've been up to. You've been putting out a lot of content in the past 3 or 4 months. What have been some of your favorite experiences from the things you've been putting out?
Um, that's a good question. So I think my favorite experience was I did like an anti-racist concert where I brought in like several, about 6 to 8 other artists, and we did like a 7 hour long live stream concert to raise money for anti-racist organizing work, specifically for an organization called Don't Shoot Portland. But that was really cool. It was cool for a lot of reasons. I mean, the nature of the fundraiser is really important, and it's important to me personally, and also bringing together a lot of different artists. And then I integrated some like poetry and articles that I think are important into it. So it was a really cool experience to see a lot of people come together around an important cause, even while we're all separated during COVID.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's the one thing that I've noticed that you're really good about wherever you live, whether it's like Boston area or it's California. You're really good about finding a community of people that are like-minded and really just being a leader for them and just having them rally around what you do. So how did you actually select the artists and musicians that were a part of the concert?
Well, that was it was sort of a frenzied last minute thing. I just like
Oh, cool.
Instagram DM'd my friends and and when I realized, oh, we should really try to make a lot of money, I was trying to pull in people last minute. And I was also learning how to use Twitch for the first time and learning how to use the OBS software for the first time. So, the 24 hours before were basically like me and everyone on the show just on like WhatsApp video call with our OBS open, like trying to figure it out together. And yeah, so it was pretty last minute, but it was fun, and we all learned a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So with this organization, how did you find them and what made you want to support what they're doing? Or obviously you want to support anti-racism, but what is their approach that attracted you to them?
Yeah, good question. So I think that to make sustained change in society, we have to do it through building the power of everyday people. So I think a big problem in society is that people who own like most of the wealth and resources end up being able to kind of make a lot of behind the scenes decisions for everyone, and they end up being detrimental to a lot of people on the planet, and in our country. And so I think we have to build movements of more average everyday people who want to take more power in their lives and change the way that the economy and the political realm work. So this organization is an organization in Portland, Oregon, and they work in educating the community, the minority community there, and doing a lot of art, like providing spaces for the community to do art, and also tying that back into movement building and protesting, and just like creating a world that's equitable for everybody.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And I know you do a lot of stuff like that locally too. What kind of efforts have you been putting into your local community? I mean, maybe COVID's kind of stunted a little bit of that since we can't really gather. But what kind of stuff have you previously been doing that you've seen good results from?
Yeah, I've actually been doing a lot more activism work since COVID hit. A lot of the problems that people have been having, forever have been intensified right now with people losing their jobs and having to worry about being evicted and having to worry about an intensified healthcare risk while they don't have insurance. These sorts of issues have come to the forefront in people's minds. So as spaces open up to talk about these things and get more people engaged in fighting for things like housing for all and healthcare for all and economic protections for everybody. So I've been doing a lot of organizing around that with a new project called the California People's Bailout that some of my friends at Sunrise Movement have been working on. So that's one of my key projects right now here locally.
And what kind of results have y'all been seeing from that?
Well, we're really in a startup phase. We're developing a website that can be a platform where people can all get together and communicate and engage and share stories around these sorts of issues so that we can create a movement that's more cohesive all across California. So, yeah, we're in the startup phase, and we're working within Sunrise Movement, which is an organization of young people fighting for a Green New Deal. And the Green New Deal is a resolution that calls on Congress to address climate change in the way that the scientific community is in agreement that we need to address it, and to also protect minority communities in the process. So, like, for instance, with the New Deal, back in the 30s, the original New Deal passed by FDR, it brought a lot of economic security to some people in the U.S., but it pushed a lot of people to the side, like people who've traditionally been disenfranchised, like the Black community, Native Americans, and other immigrants. So this legislation protects to make sure that everyone is taken care of when we create new jobs for a green economy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You're doing a lot of good work other than just music. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I like too, kind of with your art, because I see you more as like the musician in Wild Hum. I don't really get to see as much of this stuff, but I think you pull people in to both from both aspects. You're probably pulling people into the activism side that benefit from the art, and then you're also pulling people like me and coming to the podcast, me becoming a fan, wearing a really cool T-shirt with a train on it, and learning about the activism side too, because I think a lot of people are interested in the type of work you're doing, but it might be overwhelming because they don't know organizations locally, or they feel fearful to start. They don't know where to start. They don't maybe feel like they're powerless to make a difference.
What do you think? You mentioned powerless. Sorry, I know mostly you're asking questions, but I'm interested.
Yeah.
When you say people are fearful to get engaged, what do you think causes that fear from your perspective?
I don't really know about for other people. I guess maybe for me, I wouldn't say I'm fearful, but it's just a lack of knowledge of good avenues to get started. I think everybody wants to make a positive change in their local and global community to make it more equitable for people, make it a friendlier place to be in, to stop the oppressions that people have dealt with for many generations. But it's been the systems are so big, like an individual, even myself, almost feel not necessarily powerless, but like the difference that I can make in my small communities pales in comparison to what the systems in place have done to communities across the nation.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. And that's why I fight and organize on a basis of movement building locally, but also connecting that to both national struggles and international struggles so that we can connect with people building everyday power all around the world, hopefully.
Yeah. And when you said everyday people, I thought of us Stevie Wonder for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way you said that, I enjoyed that.
Cool.
And I don't really know how to transition, but I'm just going to make a very hard transition because I wasn't expecting to get into all that. We might come back to it. I was expecting to talk more activism towards the end. But like musically, one thing I've been interested in that you've been doing is publishing a lot more covers recently. Because previously, like you were putting out just original music. With your covers, what kind of inspired that?
There are definitely several different reasons. I was in the middle of releasing a project called Strong and Tender, which is like a 5-song collection that I'm releasing as singles. And then COVID hit, and there's just a sense of anxiety and disconnection and loneliness that I felt a lot of people were experiencing all of a sudden. So I wanted to just change gears and do something to relate to that and to try to like offer something into the mix. So that's why I decided to do 21 Days of Hope. And my music tends to be very like emotionally reflective and like sorrowful. And I wanted to like insert something a little more like hopeful and upbeat. So that's part of why I chose to do covers. And I also just thought like it still is, but especially when this was first starting, was a time when people needed like comfort and familiarity. So I thought would just be a good time to put out songs that people were already familiar with and could maybe connect to in a new way.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you picked some really good covers to do too. Probably one of my favorites was Over the Rainbow.
Oh, yeah.
You know, electric guitar, that was cool.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm still trying to get my guitar skills kind of better. I've mostly used the ukulele, so I'm trying to like I have played guitar in the past, but not for very long. But yeah, trying to get a little better so I can do more with that.
Yeah, I guess probably going from like the 4 strings and learning the 6-string chord patterns and where things are is a little bit different.
Yeah, it's like muscle memory.
Yeah, just muscle memory. Yeah, like when I went from a 4-string bass to a 5-string, it took a while, but now when I go to a 4-string bass, it's like, whoa, where's that other string at? I need some more notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing I was really glad to see, and I didn't see it when you did it live, but the Tiny Desk submission that you did for NPR's contest, that was really cool. I watched you did, what was it, Tender, and you also did Divorce in the Water. That was really cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. That was right before we had to social distance. So it's a little bit of a bummer. I hope we can pick back up, but right before this happened, we had really assembled like a full Wild Hum band here in Irvine for the first time. And I was really excited about starting to do more with them because we were just starting out and it was all meshing really well and the musicians were really good musicians. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but hopefully we're able to pick up again after it's safe to get together.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoy the vibe of it. Just, I guess having different people playing the instruments, it just had like a different feel to it. I guess Divorce in the Water, like it was a core song, like that felt mostly the same from the recording that you did back in Boston. But Tender just had like a very like jazz, like bluesy, smoky room, like at 2 a.m. kind of feel to it. That was cool.
Yeah. Tenderly is, even with the original Wild Hum group, we always talked about how the song is different every time we play it. And so it definitely changes even more with different people. But I really like that about it. It's supposed to be like kind of a living song, not one that is. And that's something I typically feel that way about music, so trying to like produce songs and put them into this format where they're like, I don't know, it really is different than doing it live. And I like the live thing a lot.
Yeah. And when's the last time you got to play live? When did things start shutting down out there?
I probably played live last at the beginning of March, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was about the same here. It's probably about mid-March, towards the beginning of April, that things just started shutting down, and we're starting to adjust to it as best we could. But things haven't really opened up here as far as like entertainment or things like that.
Yeah, no. Just not worth the risk right now, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. Um, and how has COVID kind of informed your music playing? Have you been doing like any Zoom concerts, or I know like you did your 21 Days of Hope, just kind of giving people some comfort and some entertainment to be a part of. But as far as like
Yeah.
your writing of originals, like has that changed the way it feels because your experience has been different?
Um yeah, I think um I haven't done a ton of writing lately because I've been working on a lot of different projects and also doing a lot of activism work. But I have written a little bit, and this period has definitely inspired me to write some more um, socially relevant songs, like songs with more of like a social justice kind of component to them. So I'm pretty excited by that. But that's always been something I don't want to force. Like, I don't, sometimes I found it hard because I write very emotionally. So in the past, that's usually been about like more personal relationships, like whether that's a love interest or romantic partner or like a parent or something. Um, but yeah, honestly, I think part of it is I think I'm evolving and healing emotionally and starting to understand more of the ways that I'm emotionally impacted by how society is. So I think that's opening me up to write more like social commentary kind of songs, but they're not ready to be released yet, though.
Yeah. And I like how you added that social component to the 21 Days of Hope. I didn't listen to all 21 days over the past couple of days, but I listened to Sounds of Silence and your
Ah,
commentary at the end of that. And there's another song that you did too.
mm,
I can't remember exactly what you said, but you were just kind of giving a rallying cry for people to stand up and, hey, let's make this thing work for everybody. Like, there's
mm,
no reason to be not vocal about this.
mhm.
Yeah, so that's really
Thanks for
cool.
listening. It means a lot.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed it as it was actually happening. Like I said, I've
No,
stepped away from social media a little bit, just
I think
kind of
that's
being a little bit
healthy.
more. Yeah, I think it's been very healthy. Not scrolling, and I think that fake dopamine hit just from being on social media all the time, and it's just not healthy for the human body, the human psyche.
I agree.
It's something that we've only been learning to evolve to over the past few years, and we're not there yet. So
Yeah.
step in. I don't know if I'll be off forever, but I just had to take a break, especially during COVID. I mean, this generation's never been through a pandemic, so
Yeah.
yeah, we have a lot going on.
Yeah.
And one thing I did some research too on this time period that we're in. Like I just said, we've never been through a pandemic. A lot of people have been paralleling this to like the 1918 flu pandemic. And it's kind of interesting how you were talking about the songs that you chose for 21 Days of Hope. I was just curious to what people were listening to back then, because that was just off the cuff of World War II. They were going through something very similar that we are. No, it's just a lot of uncertainty. People didn't really know what was going on. And the top three songs of 1918. First was a song called Tiger Rag, which I found was like a up-tempo, like jazz swing standard, just kind of really feel good, like uplifting melody type song. And
Mm.
then Rockabye Your Baby with a Dixie Melody, just kind of upbeat, happy blues. If you haven't heard it, I know it's well past 1918, but the Aretha Franklin version is amazing.
Ah, what's it
Yeah, I
called
saw
again?
Rockabye Your Baby with a Dixie
Rockabye.
melody.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, the Aretha Franklin version, I want to say was from, I think YouTube said it was like maybe 53 or 63. I'm not sure
Okay,
exactly how old she is, but yeah, it's black and white and it's amazing.
cool. I'll check it
Then
out.
I'm then I'm always chasing rainbows, and that was kind of like a somber, kind of melancholy song, but just finding like a silver lining of hope. So yeah, I think what
Maybe
you're
when
doing right now.
you maybe when you produce this episode, you can put some of the songs in the middle.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, maybe just
Yeah.
throw a couple snippets in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's awesome. But yeah, I'll certainly do that. But yeah, I think we're facing a very similar time of just uncertainty and people just having personal fights for survival all across the spectrum, whether that's losing economic or social justly. I mean, it's a lot's going on in our country right now. So
Yeah.
you putting out songs that are of a very similar nature just is really cool.
That is interesting. Yeah.
And what would you see? What would you like to see the art and music community do right now to be a part of making a change? Because I think the art and music community is always next to the science community, kind of on the forefront of change.
Yeah,
Like
I
when you look at like
agree.
the 60s and 70s, like anti-war, civil rights. I mean, they were right there alongside the protesters and activists, giving energy to the movement.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the role of the music community is huge for social transformation. I think one thing, of course, is just, yeah, I guess musicians opening themselves up to create stuff that really expresses, I think the pain and the your dog just stretched in the background. Sorry. That really expresses like the pain of the moment and the need for change. Um, I think people can have a very difficult time interacting with the parts of themselves that are in pain, and I think music is a way that we're able to do that. I think, yeah, music can be a way for people to interact with the more human parts of themselves. So I think that's important. And there have been some songs coming out recently that I really like. One is called "Sweeter" by Leon Bridges, which is it's a song kind of written from the perspective of a black man murdered by police, and it's really powerful and heartbreaking, like as it should be. And there's "I Can't Breathe" put out by her. That's really good. In terms of smaller musicians, there's a composer named David Perico. I'm probably saying that wrong. He's from a different country. I'm not good with pronunciation, but he put together a song called Black Lives Matter that's like I used it in the background of an activism film that I'm making, but it's like more like atmospheric electronic music and then overlaid with people talking about social justice and, saying things like, we're not trying to start a race war, we're trying to end one, equality for all, just kind of these phrases used within it to get the message out. So I think those are obviously important ways. Also, I mentioned to you the Antiracist Concert that I did as a fundraiser. I'm going to continue doing those every couple months. I think I want to see musicians, especially like white musicians, using their platforms to educate their communities about racial justice issues and also to raise money for organizations. I think there's a lot of potential there. white people tend to have way more resources than black people do in terms of the statistics. So, and also, white people have a legacy of kind of like choosing to ignore these issues because they're uncomfortable for us for whatever reasons. So I think it's a really important part of change is people getting more engaged.
Yeah. And I think music and art's a good way to do that. It just kind of softens the conversation in a way that for people that might be uncomfortable with talking about it, it is a way to easily absorb it.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of start that inner dialogue. So hopefully the outward dialogue comes eventually. Mm-hmm. Hopefully sooner or later, but at least eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I guess that's a beautiful way to start wrapping it up. I mean, that kind of puts a good bow on everything you've been doing here recently.
Cool.
Like new projects musically, is there anything that you want to announce that you have on the horizon that people should get excited for?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I have a song coming out. It's part of the Strong and Tender collection that I started releasing before COVID. But this song is called Fallen Angel, and it's my favorite song I've written yet. It's like the vocal was recorded like in a single take, which is pretty uncommon for people who aren't familiar with how vocals are typically recorded. And it's just very, very from the heart, and it's a song that explores like misogyny and social hierarchies, specifically, with regard to women and how women are oppressed in society. But, I think an important idea is that true feminism is about intersectionality, and true feminism means, I think the simplest way I like to say it is that true feminism means no one gets left behind. I think because it's really not just about women, it's about an understanding that everyone is equal and everyone deserves equal respect and dignity as human beings. So, yeah, it's an important song for me that I think adds a piece to the conversation.
And when is it set to be released? Does it have a set release date, or is it just kind of tentative with everything that's going on?
Yeah, it's coming out on July 24th.
Awesome. So probably find it on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and there's also a pre-save link, which it helps out a lot if people are interested pre-save the song. So I can send that over to you.
Okay, yeah, and I'll put all of your links for your socials and where people can find you on like in the comments section of the YouTube video.
Thanks a lot, Bobby.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of like with your activism, I know it's kind of in the build-up phase right now, but if people feel so inclined to support you in that, either following or financially, where can they find that once it's ready to be launched?
Yeah, one great way is I have a new page on my website called, it's just hannahruth.com/antiracist concerts, and that's where I'll be developing my format for the anti-racist concerts that I would like to do every 2 months. So people can follow along there with upcoming dates so they can attend the concerts. Also, if musicians are interested in performing, I'm trying to recruit musicians and entertainers for it. So checking that out will be a really helpful way.
Awesome. Really cool. And one last question just to kind of wrap everything up. Let's see, how well I want to say. Of your heroes, what's your probably top 1 or 2 heroes, past or present, that you look up to? And why?
So I tend to not relate to the idea of heroes very much, in the same way that I don't really buy into the whole celebrity kind of thing. I think um, it's a warped view of reality to kind of put a single person on a pedestal because they have one certain skill and, you know, forget that they're just a human being who happens to have a certain skill or whatever. But with that said, a person who I think of who I really look up to is actually the person who inspired me to fundraise for Don't Shoot Portland. And her name is Alyssa Pariah, and she's a friend of mine who's a black Puerto Rican trans woman, and she's just like, she's experienced a lot of oppression because of the way our society is structured, and she's just come out of it like a very powerful person who like uses her experiences to like create change and advocate in the community, and just be like a pillar of change and also of like personal transformation through hardship. And yeah, I really look up to her.
That's awesome. How'd y'all meet?
I met her while I was doing political work in Minneapolis, and actually had just learned that my wife wanted a divorce. So I was in like a very painful time of my life, and she kind of like walked with me through that week or whatever that we were together. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then y'all just kind of stayed connected through the years and reconnected over the activism that she's doing in Portland now.
Yeah, we've just stayed connected, and I've visited her in Portland a couple times and stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And I guess if there's one concise message that you'd like to put out to the audience listening or the world in general, what would you say in just 1 to 2, maybe 3 sentences?
I guess I'll say what I thought of is what I changed my Instagram little bio to recently, which is I feel like a phrase I probably got from my biblical upbringing, but just like take courage, take heart. And by that I mean it takes a lot of like emotional courage to both change ourselves and to look at the world as it is and be open to it and be open to what it means about how we ought to change personally and how we ought to respond. And so I just encourage you to take courage.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Hannah, for coming back on the show. Really do
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. It's been really, really nice to see you again.
Yes, it's been fun. It's been too long. We should do it more often.
I agree.
And blessings and Godspeed and everything you're doing musically, socially, and in your own personal life too.
Thanks, Bobby.
All right. Talk to you soon. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.